I ruined my ex-boyfriend's life more than 20 years ago. And recently, I made sure it stayed that way. This is long, but it matters. Names are changed for obvious reasons. Back in the 1990s, when I was still in college, I met a guy I'll call Jake. He was a few years older than me and had already graduated. He was preparing to move across the country for graduate school. And by coincidence or what felt like fate at the timing, was also planning a move with friends to a city less than 2 hours from where he'd be living. We clicked instantly. Same humor, same interests, same dreams. It felt unbelievable that we could both move nearly 3,000 miles and still end up so close together. His family welcomed me immediately. Two sisters, a younger brother, and before long, I felt like part of their world. Jake was in school, and I had a full-time job. So most weekends I drove to see him. He rented a house with 2 roommates from his PhD program. Money was tight, but we had fun. Cheap taco nights. Long conversation. Hanging out at his place while he bred and sold small animals for research. He was an animal sciences PhD student, so animals were always around. I loved it. I even became friends with his advisor's wife, Mary, who worked at the university. She was warm, kind, and often invited me to lunch when I visited. I met people from his department and honestly made friends faster than he did. Everything felt stable, comfortable, real. Then, about 2 years into the relationship, something shifted. One night, while we were lying in bed, he casually told me he was concerned I'd gained weight and that it made him less attracted to me. Not my health. Not my happiness, just his attraction. I sat up and stared at him. I told him maybe if he wanted me to eat better, he could stop feeding me crackers and cheese every weekend. I hadn't gained much, maybe 10 pounds at most, and I still wore the same clothes. Even at 23, I knew better than to accept that kind of comment quietly. So I asked him calmly, "What do you think the solution is?" He froze. Then said I should try to lose weight. I told him I wasn't doing that. So what was he going to do? He had nothing. Just wanted me to know how he felt. I thanked him, got dressed, went to sleep, and drove home the next morning like nothing had happened. 3 months later, he called and ended our relationship almost 3 years over the phone. His reason, you don't know enough about science. He claimed he couldn't talk about his work without dumbing it down for me. I told him that was nonsense and demanded the real reason. He swore that was it. A month later, when he came by to return some of my things, I confronted him again. That's when the truth finally came out. He'd been sleeping with one of his students. She was 19. He was 26, and he was her teaching assistant. I lost it. Screamed at him to leave. My roommate threatened to physically remove him if he didn't. Once the door closed behind him, something strange happened. I started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because suddenly everything made sense. I'd met the girl before. Once, she'd spilled something on herself at a barbecue and needed clean clothes. Jake asked if I could lend her sweatpants. I couldn't. We were very different sizes. And that's when I realized the weight comments, the distance, the cowardly behavior. He wanted me to break up with him. Afterward, I emailed his roommates. Back then, email was how you said what you didn't want to say out loud. I thanked them for being kind to me and told them we'd broken up. They admitted they already knew about the student and had given Jake an ultimatum to tell me himself. One of the roommates, George, offered to help me retrieve my things. He suggested I come up for the weekend, go out, drink, and do all the things Jake never wanted to spend money on. I agreed. While Jake was gone, George let me into the house. That's when I noticed something else. Jake had animals he legally shouldn't have had. One endangered species with no permit. Another animal that wasn't even allowed in the state. So I took photos of everything. That night, George and I went out. We came back, late, loud, drunk, and very visible. Jake and his new girlfriend were home. The performance was intentional. The next morning, Jake called me names. I smiled, ate a donut slowly, and told his girlfriend to enjoy my leftovers. The petty moment felt satisfying. But it wasn't the real revenge. The next day, I reported the animals to Fish and Wildlife. Then George and the other roommate filed complaints with the university. They told everyone in the program what Jake had done. Word spread fast. I called Mary, his advisor's wife, and told her everything. I even sent proof. She was furious and immediately involved her husband. Within weeks, state officials raided the house. Animals were seized. Investigations launched. Warrants issued. Jake's research collapsed overnight. He'd recently received a federal grant. I reported that too. He lost the funding and had to pay back nearly $30,000. He avoided jail time, but lost thousands in animals and paid massive fines. The university fired him from teaching and revoked his scholarship. His PhD was finished. Life moved on. I built a career, earned my own master's degree. Ironically, I now help scientists communicate their work to non-scientists, the exact thing he once mocked me for. 20 years later, I was invited to lecture at a major university. Afterward, someone approached me. Long time, no see. It was Jake. I pretended not to recognize him. Polite, professional, distant. He tried to hug me. I stepped away. Later, that night, faculty mentioned he was interviewing for a teaching position there. I laughed. When asked why, I calmly explained what had happened decades earlier. That was enough. A background check reopened old files. Complaints? Records reappeared. He didn't get the job. So yes, I ruined his life long ago. And recently, I made sure the truth followed him. If there's a lesson here, it's this. If someone criticizes your body while betraying your trust, that's their flaw, yours. Sometimes revenge isn't about lies or cruelty. Sometimes it's just about letting the truth speak.